Welcome back to this week's podcast episode of Web3 Compass. In this episode, I'm going to talk to data scientist Deniz Yasar and information system student Alexander Wiener, or my two special guests who have been also here at the podcast before about artificial intelligence. And yeah, we will have like a very broad episode. We are talking about, of course, ChatGPT. We are talking about potential use cases and also why we see artificial intelligence much more as a general purpose technology, as a technology which will be used in like every area, every industry. Then, for example, blockchain technology, where we think, okay, it might not be like general purpose technology as a lot of people, and also including myself, thought of in the beginning. And of course, we are talking about a lot of other topics, so stay tuned. Just like a quick disclaimer, when we recorded, we had some connectivity issues and latency problems, so there might be some issues on the quality of the podcast. And another comment from my side, we recorded this episode in late March, so yes, a lot of time has passed since then, and it was my mistake. What happened, life happened, so I get my nose operated, but I'm back and healthy right now. And I also I'm going to change my job, so this was also a process where I was quite involved in the last month. I'm back with new energy, and also in the outro I will tell you a little bit more about my plans, but right now let's dive into the topic and let's start the episode. Hi and welcome to this week's podcast episode of Web3 Compass. I have two guests who have been here on the show before. Deniz and Alex, welcome again to this podcast episode.
Thank you very much. Happy to be
Thank you
here.
for the invitation.
Maybe we can start with a quick introduction, because for those who have not listened to the past episodes, maybe Deniz, you can just give us a quick introduction about yourself, what you're currently doing.
So, speaking for myself, I'm working at McDonald's, coming from a very physical background, now working with data and trying to combine real life problems with mathematical models.
Nice. And also maybe important for this episode is that you study currently in your master artificial intelligence, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, and Alex, also I'm happy that you are here today. Maybe you can give me also or us a quick introduction about
Yeah,
yourself.
for sure. Yeah, I'm still in my bachelor's. I study information systems at TUM, and I'm part of the TUM Blockchain Club as head of marketing at the time, and super excited to be here. It's my second episode, so I'm stoked to be in such a great topic. So let's dive in.
Yeah, so today's topic should be artificial intelligence. Everybody is currently talking about it. Maybe also for those who don't know me, a little bit about my background. I studied like in a bachelor economics with a focus on technology and innovation, and I currently work for Cloudflare, but in a sales role. And of course, as you know about this podcast, interested in Web3. And I think we all three, or I know that we are all three interested in as well as blockchain technologies as well as artificial intelligence. And maybe my first question is, what's your opinion about ChatGPT? And it's a very open question. How do you think it will influence the world of tomorrow?
I think Dennis, you can start.
Yeah, for sure. So, in my opinion, it will change the world for more positive, and the impact will be, of course, be big. And I know a lot of people have fear towards AI and all the changes, but in the end, it's bring improvements, it's bring a better change towards health, and it's always good to have more knowledge in all areas. And I think AI is definitely a key to succeed in progression and evolution.
Yeah, I totally agree, and I think one very interesting uh, point that ChatGPT make is that is like the first application of AI that is super accessible and usable for everybody. So I think everybody knows ChatGPT now. Everybody probably used ChatGPT at some point already. And I think the most important thing is everybody probably has a task that ChatGPT was able to help him with. So I think that's something that makes ChatGPT so special. It's an application that made AI itself super accessible and helpful for everybody. So I think that's the groundbreaking stuff that ChatGPT did.
Yeah, totally. And also with a Microsoft partnership, or I don't know how to call it, partnership, cooperation, maybe part of Microsoft now, it will definitely, in my opinion, change the business world forever because you might have also seen it. I'm not sure how they officially name it, but there's like the Microsoft Assistant, which helps you to generate like PowerPoint presentations with like a small prompt command, and also Excel databases. And what I think is very interesting is that a lot of people, and probably also including myself, thought that artificial intelligence will also, let's say, revolutionize, let's say, blue collar work. And now we have all these office jobs, which, in my opinion, will be changed. How do you see this point?
Yeah, I think you touched a very interesting point with Microsoft Copilot. 2 days ago, they launched Microsoft GitHub Copilot X, so the predecessor to GitHub Copilot. And I think these tools will be extremely powerful in assisting people. I don't share the fear that they will replace jobs in the near future, at least in the next 5 to 10 years. But I think they are powerful tools to make the work that you do a lot easier, but also a lot better. So you touched on Microsoft Copilot, and I saw it on Friday and directly texted my boss to ask if we can use that on Monday, because I think it's a super interesting concept to combine these different tools. So you have, for example, a PowerPoint that can directly access a Word document, or you have Excel that can directly be transferred into Excel. And it uses ChatGPT as a baseline and enhances the work you do. So I think these are tools that just assist you to be a lot better at your job and make it a lot easier to do for you to do the job you're supposed to do.
I find it pretty ironically that a lot of people are now fearing all the things they are currently doing and that should be replaced or will be replaced, and no one knows. But in the end, all the tools or most of the tools we currently have and the fear is based on already existed a year ago. So we already had GPT-2 and the original one, Stable Diffusion, so many AI tools, and just because nobody knew, the people didn't really care about it. But because you don't have the knowledge doesn't mean there won't be any big change. So that's something everyone has to keep in mind. Just because currently now at Friday we don't know that tool XY doesn't exist, it doesn't mean that we won't be impacted by it. So I think everyone has to be kind of always on the new status and know what to do and kind of what to expect for the future. So it's really on everyone's own to act for the future.
So I think my personal opinion is, looking at this from a business context, is that over the next 5 years, it will replace a lot of jobs, because it will make the best people more efficient. So, for example, looking at this from a sales perspective, and you have, for example, blueprint emails which you send out to people, or messages on LinkedIn, or whatever, or maybe even like a chatbot on your website. I think you might have the top 20% or 25% of your performers. Let's say you have, for example, I don't know, 1,000, and the top 25%, I think they will use these tools, and they will be so efficient that they can replace a lot of these other people in this organization. And I'm not sure how this will turn out. For example, looking at the Industrial Revolution, I mean, new jobs were created, But now a big question, or even I also have to throw something in right now. I'm not sure how the future of work will look like, and I'm also not sure if the tasks will get too complex. What do I mean by this is that, for example, everything, I mean, for example, also repairing a car or doing some jobs, they get so complex that you need a lot of know-how to do it, and also a certain level of intelligence. And I don't know, because even a lot of blue-collar jobs, and now also a lot of office jobs, where I would say you don't have to be very smart to do them. I'm not sure if this will be still the case in the future, or if people, and here I'm not speaking about like a timeline of 5 years, more like 50 years, but I'm not sure if, let's say, people will have, or if there will be a job for everybody, or also if this concept of like a minimum salary will be needed in order to um, to give everybody like a life substance, or how do you say it? So I'm not sure if everybody will be able to have like a livelihood without this minimum wage. And now I said a lot of things. The first one about the timeline, the second one about how the future will, or the future of work will change over the next 50 years. And what's your opinion about my thoughts?
So one question maybe to this topic. You know that in the current time you still have a lot of slavery, let's say in Dubai and in all the building blocks, and um, shipping all the people from India or Pakistan to build your houses and so on. And do you think in the future there will also be modern slavery, but the slavery looks like you will have people who will give input to the models, input to the AI, and in order to kind of improve the performance, improve the accuracy, and so on. So, do you think this will be a big topic? Um, of course, a problematic topic, or will we handle it differently?
Yeah, I think that's a very interesting point because um, every time in history when we had a technical revolution in some way, a lot of people were scared that their job would become obsolete and the baseline of the operation would become so high that they wouldn't be able to perform. But till now, at least, every time there was a job, and I think training the model, for example, is a very interesting point. That could be a job that a lot of people do, that people now consider like very low level jobs that you have at the moment. I don't know, for example, call centers, they will probably become obsolete because FAQs and things like that will become automated a lot, will be better because you have every knowledge that you have in the company stored in a language model. But training the model, for example, testing the model, giving input, or also just low-level coding, for example, things like that will be able to be done by people that are like more low level, maybe less intelligent, but still able to provide this kind of labor.
Yeah, also what you mentioned, Dennis and Alex, um, talking about modern slavery. I'm not sure if this is the right term, but it will be probably a job where people will not be paid a lot of money, or very, very little money. And I think we have these huge click farms already in some regions in the world where people are trading models, and where people are doing this already. I think also talking about this transformation of the workplace, I think it's oftentimes much slower than initially expected, because, for example, say it's like business done by people, and even if you look, for example, at Amazon, when you order something and you have a problem, you still chat with with somebody of their call center. And I think these are oftentimes also situations where it's very hard to train in artificial intelligence. I'm also not sure if every organization can train like an AI for every of their use cases. And this might be also an interesting thought, because let's say, would big corporations, I think they would maybe profit in a way larger way than like smaller organizations, because they could train like an artificial intelligence way better because they have more data. This is just an hypothesis of mine, and then have a lot more efficiency. How do you think about this?
So I think it was last week when someone told me, yeah, you can write your queries and your code, you will be replaced by AI and ChatGPT, but the strategic point and the strategic topic will always be laying in the hands of um, a human. But actually, we have seen that Meta from a Facebook has developed a game tool in diplomacy. It's a game where you can kind of play with different players, and it's all about lying, strategic alignment, and conquering other nations. And in a short time frame, this AI has made it to the top 5% or maybe even the top 5 in the world. So you can see that AI also can lead strategic discussions and also sales discussions. That's why I wouldn't put any boundary to the AI just because we don't have it now. I would still think that every position and every topic will be included in the areas of possibilities and opportunity of the AI. I think reinforcement learning, meaning the bot for Go, chess, or even diplomacy, has shown us that um, there are really no boundaries. But Alex, maybe you have a different point of view.
I think it's important to not put boundaries on it, and I think we will have a lot of political decisions in the next 15 years that will really impact this, because we discuss like for already like 3 to 5 years now, for example, 30-hour weeks, and we have the problem that in around 15 years we have a huge strain on our retirement system, because so many people will retire. At the same time, not a lot of people will come into work. So getting more efficient, as you said, could be a real tool for us to get these efficiency gains that help us stabilize our retirement system, but at the same time maybe make it possible to have 30-hour weeks, like I think in Finland it is starting to roll out, or something like shorter works, more efficient works. And I think not putting boundaries on AI is also important, because you have these different kinds. We already talked about sales, about call centers, but AI could very soon be also a tool used in manual work, where you have, for example, in combination with other technologies like AR or robotics, where it can assist you in a really efficient way. I saw a lot of buzz around, I think, Xiaomi, but also Audi released AR glasses, or planning to release AR glasses, and they can make your work life, your hard manual work life, a lot more efficient. And for example, if you're a uh, car mechatronic, and you don't have to learn everything from the get-go. You have an AI that guides you through the glasses in a visual sense, that can make a lot of people a lot more efficient, but also raise their baseline of operations of what they are able to do. If you now can't repair a car, but you have glasses that recognize every part of the car, have an AI in the back of it that can read every manual and help you and see what's wrong, you just need to do what the AI does. And I think that's an important point, where you can't say that it will replace somebody. I think it will assist in a lot of different ways, ways we don't see, but they will help you in a lot of part of your life, where it can really boost your efficiency and help you be a lot more better, just better in the way you do things.
Yeah, totally. I also read the book 0 to 1 from Peter Thiel, and I mean he's like a controversial in a lot of areas, but the book really influenced me, and I think to really think about what surrounds us and what is the truth. And for example, I also follow and now a little monologue from my side, but Brian Johnson, I don't know if you follow him. I also talked to Dennis about him. He's like the guy who spends 2 million a year to live longer and to have new results for health. And he's also a multimillionaire. So I think he's involved in Venmo. And he also says there are different layers of truth in this world. And for example, chocolate is good for you, layer 1. Layer 2, dark chocolate is good for you. Layer 3, dark chocolate without XYZ is good for you, and so on and so on. And he also says he imagines, or he asks himself, how people in like 500 years think about how we live today and what really mattered. And I think this question is oftentimes not asked anymore because people think we are so smart. But just go back 100 years or 200 years, and then we think, oh, how could people be so stupid? And I think there are a lot of things in this world which is also not easy to speak about publicly, which seem really irrational to me, or which maybe just have grown out of natural reasons. And one thing which I think is crazy, for example, is like these how do you say it, animal cruelty. And these mass animal shelters where they slaughter like thousands of animals like in a robotic fabric. And I don't say everybody has to be like vegetarian or something like that, but I mean there should be like certain standards for animal life. And this is just one reason. And I start to think about this, I call it the structure of reality, because I know it also from like a communication perspective. And I think there are so many areas which AI will also disrupt, and a lot of things we are doing wrong. And I mean, a lot of things are also grown because of certain reasons. For example, rocket technology, where we use, for example, chemical rockets, because the Germans during World War II put a lot of money and effort into this technology, but we have not thought about different, let's say, other rocket technology, how we could power it. And I think there are a lot of things. For example, also the modern city. I think it's crazy that you have all these cars just going on the top of the city, and for example not below the ground or the structure. And okay, let's go back to AI, but what I really mean by this is that we have so many areas also in medicine. I mean, it's crazy. I have some good doctors, and I have a lot of. So okay, my Apple Siri just activated, and I had a lot of experience with bad doctors. And I think it's also crazy that they don't have like shared knowledge, or are not powered by AI. For example, if you're looking for skin cancer or stuff like that. And also about teaching. Yeah, we are also talking about the school system is bad. And I know Khan Academy will launch like a tutor, which will help people also like in a tutor way. It will not give like the answer directly, but it will challenge the people. And I think, of course, artificial intelligence will be like an ambidextrous technology, so it can be used in a good and in a bad way. But I think there are so many areas in this life currently where we can't even think about right now, which can be disrupted, which will be disrupted, and which also have to be disrupted because they are currently very inefficient and not good. And so now I finished my monologue, and maybe you can give me your opinion on your thoughts, and maybe you can start this way, the other way around. So Alex can share his opinion, and then Dennis, you can comment on Alex and my thoughts.
Yeah, I think that's very interesting. So as I said, I think the way we use AI is probably just beginning. I think the way we will combine technologies is just beginning. Also getting back to blockchain and Web3, I think that's just starting out. I wanted to just touch on a topic. Maybe you've seen it. On Tuesday, Donald Trump said he will get arrested, and for some hours, some people used Midjourney version 5 to create these super realistic photos of Donald Trump getting arrested, and it sparked at least in my social media bubble, a small debate if this is actually happening or not. And like for a few minutes, I was not sure if Donald Trump was arrested or not because these photos were so realistic. So, what do you think will AI, especially for example, image generation, but text generation is also something, will have on um, the perception we have of the world, especially the technical world that we are having right now?
I think with those problems, I'll call it problem with Donald Trump and his pictures, but it's not only the Donald Trump problem. It's with a lot of things like we had Putin in the war 2022 and all his speeches which were fake. And I think with the opportunity of new models and like creating fake IDs, fake pictures, fake videos, you have a new category of people whose purpose will only be finding those videos and trying to again model anything to kind of uncover all those fake stuff. And I think that's the fascinating thing about this. So we have a new segment or a new category coming up, and then you have the parallel category, which purpose is only finding those. And then we are only speaking about fake pictures. And as Bogi said, 100 years ago, a lot of people thought we will fly in our cars or there will be other changes. But looking back, what were the biggest changes in technology in the last 20 years? I mean, our phone, the first iPhone came out in 26, 27, and after that, there was no real revolution. The smartphone stayed for that, and that's just one area. So now going to fridges, to medicine, to physics, to mathematics, we have so many launches, so many new products, but we kind of stay at the same products. And unless the people aren't forced to change or that people don't find anything which is more comfortable than their current environment, I think there will be no big changes. So I think it's really all about comfort. If there is no real big benefit in comfort, there will be no big change. And if you think about all the technological changes, also with ChatGPT, they all have one thing in common, and that's comfort. So I think that's the basis for change for all the people.
I just wanted to hop in because I think this is the probably most important point which makes AI so much more uh, hype based, but also there to stay based than blockchain is right now. The point about comfortable, being accessible, being there for everybody, that everybody uses it for some task or knows something that they can do with it, is exactly the point which differentiates AI from blockchain at the moment, especially in the hype cycles, because you can see that AI is overhyped right now. Everybody's talking about it, and probably not all the tools that are made today will stay, but there are a lot of tools, for example, Microsoft Copilot or ChatGPT or generative AI that will stay, and that's probably, for me at least, what I am seeing the biggest differentiator to blockchain at the moment, because you have a tool that is so accessible and so comfortable that people definitely will change for it. And for example, paying with crypto is something that is possible for probably 12 years now, but isn't really adapted by anybody because it's not that comfortable like different technology which we have at the moment. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's very interesting. Also, share the same opinion as you. For example, for blockchain technology, I think it will stay definitely in the financial sector, and I know there are projects, and also now in the DACH area, banks are already building like distributed ledger technology, and digital assets are also here to stay. However, I'm not sure if it will be like a general purpose technology. So also before we started this episode, of course, we talked a little bit about our agenda. Maybe for the audience, it's like a technology which will be used, like a general purpose technology is a technology which will be used in all areas. And a lot of people said like the blockchain is such a technology. And I'm not sure if this is true anymore. So I still think there will be good use cases, as I said, especially in the financial scene and everywhere where you need like a trustless system. But I think personally, and I am much more careful because I learned that I also was very hyped in 2021 about DLT technology. And but looking at AI right now and just seeing how Microsoft integrates this, it will be pushed directly to tens of millions of users a day. And I know, of course, there's a lot of wallet users also for crypto, but I don't know how many people are really using their wallet and have like a significant amount of value stored there, even for their amounts. Let's say even if you're like in a country where, let's say, amount XYZ is like a very large amount, I don't know if people in their terms store like a large amount of money in crypto. I think some people do it, but I still think it's like a very small amount of people and it's highly concentrated. However, artificial intelligence, currently, I know so many people also in like in my peer group who use it, who already use ChatGPT and other tools. DeepL, for example, is I think one of the best examples also. I think everybody who's around 20 to 30 years old, and even people who are older, are using DeepL for translating stuff. And now there's also DeepL Write, which helps you to formulate even better emails. And so many people are using it. And I never had the same experience with talking about like crypto, for example.
But to be a little bit provocative, I don't think you can compare Web3 and all the blockchain topics with AI and all the machine learning, reinforcement learning areas, because really AI is so much more than just stable diffusion, so much more than just ChatGPT. It's only an example of how we can use it and how we can leverage potential for blockchain. I'm sure the one of the reasons why it's not as popular or as used as ChatGPT is, it's currently not really useful for I will call them normal people, since taking a transaction in your wallet or in your bank account won't be different for the most of the people. But when you look at security and safety guards, then I think blockchain really comes to the top and shows what it can do. Um, I'm not too sure if you heard about it, but last week um, there there is a currency called Monero, and Monero is popular for being used by criminals since there is no or there's really little possibility of following transactions, and that's um, the best thing a criminal can use. So not being able to follow transactions, of course, led to a lot of websites which implemented Monero as their main currency. And last week, um, Europol came out and said the founder of Monero was actually working for them. And I find it very interesting since the whole community was, of course, a little bit shocked. But in the end, no one was really afraid since all the codes, all the sources, and all the work was transparent, published, and official. So really everyone had access to the code and everyone saw that even though he was working for officials for Europol, they really weren't impacted since the code was checked and signed by all the developers who weren't working for Europol. And that's, I think, is a category or an area where blockchain is really polishing and showing its potential.
But does that mean that Europol was able to track transactions, or he was just part of it and it's still not possible for them?
Yeah, so in the beginning, he wasn't working for them. I think there was a case where he decided to, okay, now it's probably better for myself to change sides and go to Europol. And now Monero has some problems, of course. There are ways how you can follow transactions, but in a very, very difficult manner. And with Europol, they were trying to have him as their help to show them, oh wow, this is the way how we can trace them. But in the end, um, his knowledge isn't any more than some YouTube videos which already covered all the problem areas which Monero has. So right now, yeah, there are some possibilities, but they were even possible before, and they're very, um, they aren't time efficient, they aren't time effective, and you will have to invest a lot of resources to kind of break Monero at the point right now. It can definitely happen that this won't be the case in the future, but right now there is no big change to the time prior of his change.
Very interesting, yeah. No, to relate to my point, for me, I think what struck me with AI coming up in like the last 6 months was how the hype cycle felt differently, because I got also swept up 2020, 21, where you kind of got into it and it was super exciting, but you felt like it would change everything, transactions, and people said, for example, in shipping, in cargo, everybody would use a blockchain in some sort. So for me, it was that crypto said we will use it for anything. So NFTs, for example, came up and people said this would be used for, I don't know, for uh, token gates and for transactions, and your house will be an NFT and your car will be an NFT. So that's something that I feel is when people talk about AI as a general purpose technology, it's you can visualize it a lot more with everything coming out right now and seeing that, for example, when you thought like 3 months ago that OpenAI released ChatGPT, then Microsoft bought it, everybody said, how great would it be if Microsoft integrates it into their suite of products? And now it happened, right? So when everybody, for example, talked about Starbucks bringing out their loyalty program, or JP Morgan launching a trade with Polygon, everybody was like, "Oh, this will be integrated into this or that," and that just did not come true. And I think AI shows how much how quickly it iterates and how good it can be used in so many areas, time after time again.
Yeah, the adoption speed is incredibly fast, and I'm still thinking about how we can use artificial intelligence. I'm always, of course, or maybe not of course, but I'm always also looking how I can use it. Maybe if I can fund or found, so if I can found sometime in the future like a startup. And I also thought about doing this in the blockchain space, but I also didn't found like a very good um, reason or right now, or not something which I can implement. But looking at artificial intelligence, I think it's very interesting to think about traditional industries and think about how we can change them. Of course, even here, um, the question has to be asked, will it really be artificial intelligence, or will it be just like a good, I don't know, linear regression or other stuff of machine learning? Do you have really enough data to train like a neural network? And maybe Dennis, you as like studying artificial intelligence, what's your opinion about this? When is artificial intelligence really artificial intelligence, and is it really always necessary?
Um, to be honest, I don't think it's always necessary. There are definitely um, some also subjects where you can say no, there is really no need, but it's a very subjective view. Of course, you can say no, my manual work is needed, but in the end, it will be replaced. And for the question, no, not always a neural network will be the best solution. It's really specific use cases. And I think the silo thinking of here we use this, here we use this, and AI is for this and this and this is still very naive, because just think about the combination of three-dimensional printers and AI. What if they learn how to develop things, to build things, and the use cases will be huge just for medicine reasons, building houses, and so on. And that's only two areas which you're combining. So let's say you're combining a lot of more areas, three-dimensional printers, AI, and pets, and then you can build a whole new world on this. And that's why I think no, not always necessary, but definitely a potential for every kind of way you can think about.
I would, as an expert, I would love to get your opinion on maybe if you heard it on alpaca launching. Um, t- it's I think it launched last Saturday from Stanford, and it lowered the cost of training such a model from I think to $600, and that was something that was predicted by I think JP Morgan predicted that that will only be possible by 2030 or 2029, and now it happened last week. So maybe you've heard it, maybe you can give some insights to it.
To be honest, I haven't heard it. I'm not into it, but every time someone says it's this year that's gonna be happening, just subtract 10 years and then you have it. The exponential growth is always kind of disrupting the ideas of every human, and there will always be some people who are right, but the most amount of people, every time they say a date when something will happen, it will always be before, because the human mind is not capable of thinking in exponential terms, and that's what I meant before. You can't imagine how much more growth we will have next year based on this year's knowledge, and it will go on and on and on. Every year it will be more and more and more. So, um, I'm very excited for the next 5 years. It's really just 5 years, and in the next 5 years we'll look back and say, "Wow, 2020 there was like nothing. 2015 there was nothing," and I'm excited about that. And the whole area of optimizing models, cost efficiency. We have seen it with ChatGPT. I think they've spent about 3 million or a million a day just because people have thrown in all the ideas and sentences. Um, it's also going to be something like financial controlling. It's all about saving money, being more efficient, and that's why I think the area of optimizing will even grow further than any other topic, because it's all about the money in the end.
Maybe a strange question. Talking about artificial intelligence, we now have a lot of use cases which are like in the software industry, where basically you use artificial intelligence to make existing progresses better, more efficient, whatever. But can you think about business cases where you use like artificial intelligence as like a completely new, like a 0 to 1 business case? You already talked about like 3D printers, but like using the technology in a way to create really a completely new product which has not been here before.
Alex, would be interested in your opinion.
Um, Maybe give me a moment. um,
Health, for example, you're currently thinking. When you're thinking right now, I have 2 examples. What's about health? Health tracking, for example, also connecting all your data. Right now in Germany, they are talking about like consolidating all your data from different doctors. But what is when you go like every quarter to like a health check-in, and then you have like an artificial intelligence which can predict how you live? I mean this is also something where people are, of course, things are happening behind the curtains, but at least I have not read so many news about it. But longevity, I hope I said it right. People are thinking. I read like an interesting article in like a National Geographic magazine that the natural highest age for humans is like 120 to 125 years old. And I mean, this is crazy when we have right now like an average life of for males and females around the same, a little bit higher, about 80 years. Let's just imagine we would live 120 years. We would extend our life about 40 years, and let's say even we have like a way better aging. Of course, we don't want to be sitting like in a wheelchair and being not able to do anything. But what would be the case if we use artificial intelligence connect all this data to have like a new product, to have like a new healthcare system where we slow it down. First case, maybe before I get your opinion. Second case, our legal system. I think right now I just registered my market, my not my market, my brand, and I also had to go to like a lawyer. And I mean, it's a good case, but there are already Silicon Valley startups. I think Justin Kahn, the founder of Twitch, I think he founded some legal startup, and I think the time was not ready because it was some sort of like hybrid product. I'm not too deep into this, and I'm also not 100% sure if he did this, but there were like legal startups who I would say not really failed, but were like more like legal companies on steroids. But what if we could change also this? And maybe what if we could change also our whole tax system and tax consultancy, create like and I know there are also right now apps who do this, but I mean on a complete another level, like tax optimization. You have like a big corporation, as I said before. Of course, a small corporation could not use it, but then you have like a big corporation, multinational, 100 countries, for example, and you have like an artificial intelligence, and they optimize your taxes. I think this might be also create a whole new product.
Alex, did you come up with an idea?
I think, yeah, I think something I talked to a lot of people last week about was education, the digitalization in education. We already talked about teachers, and I saw an article on last Sunday in the Süddeutsche that was about how many teachers we are missing. And I thought about how much ChatGPT, but advanced models, would be able to assist the teacher in a way to even the playing field, make it, for example, that everybody first interacts with in a language model with an AI that is maybe fed all of the knowledge of the school books. They prompt the questions. Obviously, they would get a security layer so that they don't just say the answer. They would, for example, give tips. They would show you different approaches. They would recognize how you approach a task and maybe amplify that or try to change it. But the teacher wouldn't be gone or would be replaced. The teacher would be able to concentrate on maybe the 3 or 5 kids that really struggle and could connect with them on an emotional level, which could then amplify the way that they learn. So I think education, definitely digitalization in our current system, is something that could improve a lot by these assistants. I would always call them assistants that could help the teacher get rid of these, like, because currently the teacher has 30 kids in front of him, and they all have 30 different probably knowledge bases. They have 30 different kinds of learning things, and if we get assistance to help them amplify the way they think, amplify the way they learn, these teachers would be able to get back to their most important tasks, which is connecting with people on an emotional level and helping them. The 3 or 5 that are really struggling a lot. So that would maybe be an area. But coming back to medicine and health, I think that's definitely something. I also read that AI is extremely capable in, for example, finding cancers in photographies or looking at I'm not sure which the English term is, but Leberflecken, just recognizing patterns, recognizing history, learning from it. So that's definitely something where it can be. And regarding the legal system, I'm not sure if you saw the ChatGPT 4 preview, but they actually showed an example of what ChatGPT 4 is capable of based on a legal task. So they gave it, I think, 20 or 100 pages of a legal text code, and then prompted him with a question. I think it was a couple, and they had to do their taxes in some way. And ChatGPT was able to look at the text code, find a solution for the question he was prompted, but also explain how he came to that solution. And for example, I used this paragraph, and this paragraph led me to this other paragraph. So it was able to show the way and help a normal person that would never be able to grasp a text law how he is at the moment to help this person to solve this text problem. So that's probably an area where a lot of people will be amplified.
Maybe coming back to the text topic. So when you speak about education, there's a lot of opportunity when you go back to the legal system in Germany, for example, or in America, and going up to the top in politics. So I've spoken about diplomacy and the bot Meta has launched. And of course, in the game, the goal was to conquer as much land as possible, as far as I've understood it. But now going back to Germany, what is the goal when launching such a model? Is it to redefine our political system? And if yes, what's the KPI you're looking for? Is it the median household income? Is it the happiness index? So you have to have a way of measuring your success when modeling something and launching a AI model. And I find it very difficult to have this one KPI. There are different ways you can measure the success of a country. There are very poor countries which are very happy. There are um, unhappy countries which are rich and successful in economic terms. Of course, always relative. And that's why I see a problem with applying AI with education and with all the systems we have. So you always have to keep in mind that there is a target KPI you're chasing, and the target KPI has to be defined. And that's a very challenging approach, in my opinion. Additionally to all the footage and the area of photographing of pictures and medicine, I think there is still a huge possibility or opportunity you can use AI in geographics. So I'm really not so much into that subject, but I can imagine when speaking about climate change and how to act as a country, how to deploy companies, then you don't know, there might be a possibility to launch reactors or any other company like Amazon in some areas in the world where the impact on the CO2 emission is so minimal that you can have a trade-off, and you don't know which opportunities additionally come in. So I think AI with geographics and climate change is also a big possible focus area. And I mean, those are just like 5 areas we spoke about, and we have so many more areas which we currently have not in mind. So I would be really excited for the changes and for everyone in those areas, and not only talk about being replaced or not. It's about so much more than just your job.
Yeah, especially education. You really have to check out this YouTube video of Khan Academy. I think I will also link it in the show notes because Alex, it was a lot about what you talked about, or it went a lot into this direction. And of course, Dennis, I think it's also good to ask what KPI you have. Let's, for example, just take text knowledge and let's think about our education system. And I mean, people are good in different areas. And I felt like in a lot of areas, I needed more time to develop. Let's say this way. And other areas I was very fast. All areas probably which revolved around history, speaking, writing, ethics, philosophy. I don't know, all these subjects, marketing. Maybe not like natural science. In these areas, I was very fast, and I know that I had one teacher who also gave me like books of like, let's say, classes 2-3 years above me, but still those books were not really challenging to me. However, in other subjects, for example, physics, I was quite challenged, or at least in these school book physics. I think sometimes that I could give us a way to to find our strengths also way better. To have like an assistant who will give you more challenging tasks and which will also help people in like maybe the 8th grade or even the 7th grade to evolve way faster, because it can really play their strength, and then it go even deeper and deeper, and you can enable people to become experts way faster. Because also right now, I mean, I'm 22 years old, and you are around the same age. I think sometimes age is still a restriction in today's world. And people are saying, you need to be like 30 to do this or that. And especially in the corporate world. But this is something I don't get, because I think in some areas you develop extremely fast. For example, I know because I went to school in physics. And other areas, not, right? And in physics, for example, I also know we had like a teacher. I always asked him some weird questions. For example, I had like a biology teacher, and there were like different materials, and I had like an idea for like a perpetuum mobile. And I also know that it will not exist, right? It cannot exist. But I went to the physics teacher and asked him, because the biology teacher said, yeah, I should go to the physics teacher and present him my idea. And he was so mad. He was just like, no, it cannot exist. And like my idea was directly destroyed. However, my biology teacher, she told me, yeah, just go to like Jugendforsch, which is like a project here where you can find out how you can use it. And I would probably come to the conclusion that it could not exist, but maybe I would come to another conclusion that I could use this material, which was like balancing different kinds of chemicals in like a natural way, to have like, maybe I could use it to generate energy. This was my idea. And I think here it would be so great to have like an AI powered tutor which will help you in all these weird questions you have, because also a lot of teachers, they have like school book knowledge. And they don't encourage you to think outside of the box. Of course, there are great teachers and there are a lot of bad teachers, but you can go out of this way to have like a tutor. And even in university, I mean, it's also like a mass system. Most university classes, I had like a class with 800 people, and I thought, damn, what? Where am I? Nobody could answer my questions. I could also do like a Udemy course in the same way, and having like an AI powered tutor would be great. However, and this is my last topic I want to ask or debate with you, is what is if the knowledge is sometimes not right? So I mean, there's like the principle shit in, shit out. And if we, for example, rely now on ChatGPT or Microsoft, I think in like a very dystopian scenario, it could also lead to like people believing in like a truth which is actually wrong.
Yeah, I think that's a very interesting point. I mean, I think we will have in general, not just on AI, we will have to face a huge discussion about truth. It came with the last few years where you had fake news and things where people just say something and it gets out there, and some people believe it and some people don't. And factually, you can prove one side, but the other side just does not believe it. And we already talked about deep fakes. We already talked about generated text. So I think the way that we approach something like the truth, the way that we approach something like public discourse will be very interesting to see, because one topic we did not touch and we will not open up today, but how the data, for example, that is provided to these models is paid for or is given to. So currently these models run on the whole internet. And already with generative AI, you saw a lot of lawsuits against these companies because people said, this is my art, you took it and you made something from it. This is also something we will probably see. But getting back to this truth, I think it will be very interesting to see how the security layer will be defined. It's already something that we have in social media apps that people talk a lot about the algorithm. So you had a lot of discussion with the Twitter files and the YouTube algorithm, especially also TikTok, and that TikTok is very addictive. So maybe we will see a change in that, and that will also go over to AI, that people will have to work with the way the data is inserted, and that's probably something where we already talked about how the click farms and people that train these models will look at the truth of the data itself.
Mm, so the question if the model will be a self-fulfilling prophecy, if it's feeding its own with its own results and there's really no change, is definitely right. And that's what I meant with the question if there will be people who will be feeding in. And I think, or in my opinion, your thought about how can we make sure that those facts are true, whatever true means. And I'm sure that with all the models which come up, you will have different models which check if those models are right or the output is right. Um, and I'm sure there will be people who will make sure that regulations are put in to kind of make sure that first of all the source or the source codes are openly accessible, and on the other side that your sources for the input, I think ChatGPT had Twitter, had LinkedIn, had Wikipedia as sources, they will also be written down. And then the question is, of course, as you said it, are there people who will pay you to put in different um, Twitter accounts or kind of weigh the account of Donald Trump lower than the one of Joe Biden? We have seen that that's actually the case. And I think only regulations can handle this. And on the other side, if your AI will make the regulations, then your AI is managing your AI. That's a problem you will have to tackle beforehand, because after that, you're really opening the box of Pandora.
Yeah, totally. Also, the topic centralization versus decentralization. And I thought about this a lot. Of course, it's nearly in every one of my podcast episodes talking about cryptocurrencies. But I think it's a much broader topic, right? It's not just cryptocurrencies, it's also technology in general. Are you using open source technologies, or are you using technologies from, let's say, big companies, the hyperscalers? And I think like the reality is like neither black or white in so many frames, and also this hyperscaler bashing from a lot of people in the crypto industry, I think is also not right. I'm here also the disclaimer. Of course, I work for Cloudflare. I already mentioned it in the beginning. Cloudflare is also not a small company anymore. We see like 20% of the worldwide internet traffic. However, I think we enable also so many small companies, and that this is just like the same with AI, right? If you are helping so many people, it's like I think Peter T also said it. We should not be afraid of these double edged technologies, which can be used in like a good and a bad way. But we have to find like a new form of living, how we can live with them, because they will come, they will exist, and we will have to find a way. And I'm incredibly interested in what this way will be, how fast also regulation will be, because with crypto they have been incredibly slow. And I mean, crypto, if they would have had the same adoption rate as artificial intelligence, it would be a crazy thing. So I'm very interested what will happen in the next 5 to 10 years. Perfect. I think we had like a very interesting episode. And do you have any final thoughts?
I think for me at least, the most important thing is to be open to these changes and not to close off. A lot of the changes I see when a new tool comes out, I directly show it to friends and family, and I feel like this fear of being replaced, the fear of that this AI will change to the worst is something that will happen. There will be downsides to the way it is. I don't think it's very easy to predict which they will be. But I mean, the internet already is the best example. You have so many upsides, but also so many downsides. So I think for me, it's to be open to this change of technology. We're living in a super exciting time, and it will change the way we work, the way we interact, and also how you will be assisted by technology. So just try out these tools. If you don't like them, don't use them, and just stay aware of what's happening.
Yeah, to be honest, that's a very good point. Being open and always know what's the current status in the world is. It's not really about knowing which model Stanford brought last week, but knowing which tools you have and which capabilities are there out. And that's really how you help yourself. I know you're not a business, but you have you have a brand for yourself, and the brand is your life and your comfort in your life. And that's why I think it's always important to look around and see how you can leverage your own life.
Great final words. So, Dennis, Alex, thank you very much for being part of my podcast episode, and hopefully see you here again soon.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for listening to this week's podcast episode. I really hope you liked it. If you did, I'm always happy if you leave like here and a subscription. And yeah, if you have some thoughts also about AI, you can always DM me. Easiest way is probably right now over LinkedIn. And of course, we also have like a Discord channel, which is linked in the show notes of the podcast. I have to be honest, lately it was a little bit dead, but I have to think about some plans how I can revitalize like the Discord channel. And yeah, so far so good. I think some people are also interested in the teaser I did in the beginning about like some updates from my side. So about my nose, yeah, it was inside. It was just like bent, so it was like a medical operation, not like for optical reasons or aesthetic reasons. I just had problems to get air through my nose, and they operated it. And yeah, I also changed jobs. It was a great time at Cloudflare. I really enjoyed the time there. I really love my team. Big shout out to the people I worked with. It was a great time. I just felt like me personally, for the steps I wanted to take or I'm going to take, the conditions were not right for me. And yeah, it was also not foreseeable in March that I'm going to start like for an AI startup, and this will be an AI startup from Heidelberg. They are doing decision intelligence. They are called Paretos, and yeah, I'm really interested in what the future will bring. I'm really hyped. Also, it will be like the next step in like a sales career. Will be like a junior account executive, which normally comes after like SDR, BDR, and which stands for like sales development rep or representative and business development representative. And then you're going to be like an account executive, or in my case, like a junior account executive, where you can work normally on your own prospects and and being in the lead of winning new customers for the company. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. Also to have ownership about these the D cycle and my own projects, and to build some great business cases for companies, and to know their needs. And also, if you have like a good product, it's always nice when you can help somebody and you have like a win-win situation. And yeah, so that's this thing. I'm really looking forward to it. I will probably also try to get somebody from the company on this podcast to tell you more about this. And yeah, but lastly, and I will probably repeat myself in the next episode because there I have also some things gotten mixed up in the schedule. I will probably in the future also not post on a weekly basis because it's for me it's not feasible. So there are so many things going around in life, of course, with the job, of course, family, my girlfriend, my friends. I also try to stay healthy, eat healthy, to have a good balance. And I just felt like it's quite hard to sustain everything. Also, if you have like a job, and then this podcast is quite a lot of effort if you post like on a weekly basis, because I really try to get the most out of it. I really try to be good prepared for the interviews, to not waste the time of the persons I interview. I really try to get some great insights. And I also really enjoy it. And I'm also not completely right now, I have not forgotten the blockchain technology. And I still think there are some cool things cooking and also some good use cases, even though we said, it might not be like a general purpose technology. I think, or I'm convinced there will be cool use cases and there are interesting changes. And as I also said, Web3, in my definition, it's just like the next generation of the web. It's not only a web based completely on blockchain technologies. I think it will be like a part of Web3. And artificial intelligence will also be a part of Web3. Because just look at ChatGPT 4. I bought like the premium version. And now you can use Bing for all your research. And it's crazy. What you can just paste a link and say, okay, please summarize me what this company does from a business perspective. And then it's like reading like or getting like a summary of like a Wikipedia entry. And you can do so cool stuff with ChatGPT 4, which I'm also very convinced that AI technology will be used by a lot of people. Just look at DeepL. We said it also in the podcast. So many people are using DeepL as like a translator. So many people are using ChatGPT right now. And of course, we are probably right now right at the top of the hype cycle. And you have to be careful to not fail or to not get too drawn into the hype. But still, I think to have like an optimistic outlook for the future is always a good thing. And I'm more than happy to try out what the future brings. And I hope we can go together along this way. And of course, also my goal is to build like a community of people who are driven, who are interested in tech, of course also interested in blockchain technology. So I have not forgotten this. I'm not like somebody who now does only AI. But if you want to follow the journey, always happy if you subscribe. Always more than happy for your feedback. But now I talked too long and too much. And I really have to go to sleep to get that balance which I talked about. So have a great evening or morning or whenever you're listening to this episode. And cheers.